What up, everybody? Hey, this is a training video. It's going to be TJ McClellan, Broker Fitness Realty, sitting here with Mesia Swan, Eagle Gate, title. So we're going to have a good time. I love to sit down with business professionals that know what they're doing, and Mesia is a rock star.
Aw, thanks.
You're very welcome. Mesia, will you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, like how far back you want me to go? Really show you my rock star?
Yes.
Okay, so just briefly, I'll give you my elevator speech. I went to school for aviation science, got my pilot's license, was going to travel the world, and then I had my first daughter. She was kind of had some health issues, and we were at the hospital for about 3 months, and I decided I'm going to switch careers and go into nursing. So I got my nursing degree. I did that for a little while. And then I met my husband, Brian Swan. If you went to Stringham, everybody knows Brian.
We love Brian.
Yes. So I met him, and he was making real estate look really easy. He's like, I'm rolling in dough and hardly working, and I was working and had hardly any dough. So he convinced me to get my license. So I did real estate. I loved real estate. My first year, I killed it, like 54 files my first year. Like, I loved real estate. I was good at it. But then we moved out of state for law school. And unfortunately, my clients didn't want to move with me. So I know. So I got a job with the VA, working with veterans, which I loved. Still has a deep place in my heart. Love my veterans. So I did that for a while. And then stayed home for a couple years raising my babies while Brian hit Stringham hard. I helped, proof all those classes and watch all those videos, do all of that with him. And I decided, I really want to get back into it. I loved real estate, but I decided I'm going to take a different angle. And title was cool. Like, I really liked being able to help the agents because I had that perspective, but now I had title and I could see that there was like something missing. There was a gap. And I wanted to fill it.
Nice. That is awesome. And that's why she just brings so much to the table. Different perspectives, different experiences. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, let's move to our first slide. What in the heck is title? When we were kind of just chit-chatting about what to put on here, I asked Mesia, what are the 2 top things that we should know about? So take it away.
Okay. So understanding title really is just understanding ownership. When you have a piece of property, it has a history. Who owned it, all the way up to who's selling it, who's buying it. And that title history is really important because you don't want disputes over who actually has any rights to the property. So with title, we have a researcher that goes all the way back as far as they can, usually the life of the home, to see who's owned the home and if the ownership has been vested or given properly to the new buyer. So that nobody can come back later and say, hey, you didn't have the right to sell that house, I actually own it.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty important. And that's where the title insurance comes in. And the reason that everybody needs title insurance is because you don't want to sell your home to someone who's going to be nervous that some lien or some vesting might come out of the woodworks and say, hey, now you owe this debt, or hey, you can't have this house because it's mine. So you buy the insurance, and that is, we pay for anything that comes up on the property later.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really kind of an interesting thing to me, is to see not only that there are issues or loopholes or limiting factors that may come around from a property just from the title being wrong, which I would have had no clue until right now.
The other thing is
I don't even know that happens.
Yeah. No, but the judgments are the big thing. Most of the time it's not the ownership because, we're in an age of technology where we don't have to run down to the recorder's office and wait in line and have them stamp it. We've got the technology. So little mistakes with typing errors are fine, but the big mistakes that you see, 100 years ago, whose property line, whose farm, those things don't happen anymore. But what you do find is that maybe someone has a judgment that's placed against them, and it was made as a lien against the title. And if you don't really dig for that in the right place, it stays with the home. And now it's the new seller or the new buyer's responsibility to pay off a debt that they didn't incur.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. Everybody pay attention to that. So my question to you is, why is it that both parties have to buy title insurance?
Okay, that's a great question. When you are the borrower or the buyer, you are taking out a loan against the property. We are insuring the title for the lender. not for the borrower, not for the buyer.
Oh,
Yes.
what?
Yes. So the
Stupid
lender,
lenders.
yes,
Just
the
kidding.
lender
Sorry,
requires that. We love Michelle. No, they require that you have that insurance so that if something comes up, their interest in the property is covered.
Gotcha.
But as a seller, you're buying the title insurance to cover the title for the new owner, so they have the peace of mind that if something comes up, it's also not at their expense.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
All right, let's see what we got next. Escrow, the bread and butter. I like that Mesia explains escrow as kind of the nuts and bolts behind what everything is happening or behind every transaction. And so I'm curious to see these top three things that we need to know explained to us.
Okay, so first you need to understand everybody thinks title and escrow are one thing, one entity. In Utah, we actually are. We have a title researcher and we have an escrow officer, and sometimes the title researcher is licensed in escrow and sometimes the escrow officer is licensed in title. And it's important to understand who you're working with and what they're licensed and who they have in-house that is representing you and doing all the research for you. So understanding that Utah keeps it in-house, but most other states, you go to a title company and to an escrow company.
Oh, weird.
So they really do have two separate purposes. So Utah rolls differently. We march to our own drum. Like, we like to be unique.
Yes.
But it works well having both in-house because they kind of go hand in hand. But escrow, really the responsibility is to kind of be that safety net to take care of the agents, to take care of the lenders, to take care of the buyers, to take care of the sellers. Our job is to really get into the weeds and make sure that everybody's adhering to the contract.
Gotcha.
And that's why we stay neutral. You know, we have in Utah a title company that represents the seller, a title company that represents the buyer. And again, other states use only one title company. But for us in Utah, we like them separately. But even though we're separate and I might be opening title for you, TJ, and your buyer, I am still the neutral party and have to look out for the seller. So I'm going through the contract, just making sure that everybody is doing everything on the up and up, that they're following the deadlines, that they're getting the money where they need to get the money to, which is to me. That's
Nice.
the other element of escrow is the money, the funds.
Yikes.
Yes.
Messy.
It is. It is. I'll be honest, when I did real estate, like, I feel bad for the escrow officer that I used because I had no idea how difficult her job really was. And you don't know what's behind the scenes. Like, it is so much more than you realize. And I would just be throwing stuff at her like, oh, we're closing tomorrow, right? Here's all these addendums I
Right.
forgot to
Let's
give
go.
you. Just fix all those numbers quickly. But it really is. It's without an escrow officer, it would be a circus.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which is going to bring us to the next fun slide, which is going to be horror story time. I love stories.
Oh, okay. So I take pride in the fact that because I know real estate, a lot of the horror stories don't happen on my watch.
I totally agree with this, actually.
Thank you.
She has so much perspective that's like, we shouldn't do that. And then we just like avoid everything.
Avoid it. Exactly. Yeah. I try to foresee what could go wrong when I can see certain things taking a road that they're going down. So I especially like to work with agents that don't have a lot of experience because that gives them the peace of mind like, oh, if I'm doing this wrong, she's going to call me out on it.
True.
Whereas other escrow officers really, they don't know. They don't understand. And that's where my horror story comes in. So, yes. We had an escrow officer at a different office. It was Eagle Gate, but she was at a different office. She was fairly new. And she was working with a lender who happened to be fairly new. And the lender did not understand that deadlines are like unforgivable in this market right now. Sellers are not going to grant extensions. So I had this cute little escrow officer call me up and she said, okay, here's the problem. The lender doesn't have the docs to me yet. Our settlement deadline is tomorrow. They want an extension and the seller won't give us an extension. And this was on like a huge $2-point-something million home. And the earnest money was over 50 grand. And so we're really like, this is a serious thing and we're on the 12th hour. So we were able to kind of contact the lender, get some docs, get some things taken care of, pull it off at the last minute with them waiving the CD. I mean, there was a lot of things that had to take place. But most escrow officers wouldn't even see that as a red flag. They would just call up the agent and say, well, we don't have docs yet, we can't schedule, and assume that the agent would just take care of that. It's their
Yikes.
job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's their job. If we can't make it by the deadline, it's your job to get that extended. But not understanding real estate or the market means that you don't know that that deadline is not going to be granted.
True.
So,
Whoa.
yeah, we averted that one. But there's, I mean, I could tell you lots of stories of wire fraud. Got to be careful with that. You just, yeah. I mean, you guys are representing your client's asset and the money invested into it, or the earnest money going into it. I mean, it's a lot, and you have to make sure that the person that you're relying on understands the weight that you carry as an agent, because if they don't, they're kind of loose with it, and that's where liability comes in. Yeah.
That is a crazy story. And that is a big contract to be like, oh crap.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh man, I love that in this market kind of brought around some things that were just like nobody ever would have seen this coming. And to have your perspective inside to see that for us and all of the agents, our staff, is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm really appreciative of that.
That's awesome.
All right. So I asked Mesia to kind of lay out for us a few things that'll be like a help me, help you, so that we can be better agents to bring our title reps, and especially Mesia, just bring a better contract or bring a better experience, and maybe know some things that we were like, ooh, if I would have known that, I would have done that, but I had no clue. And then we can just like, hey, here's this little knowledge bomb. We'll just boom, drop it on you. So yeah, just kind of walk us through, like, if you said, hey, TJ, you're a new agent, these 3 things or whatever will help you help me.
Awesome. Yeah. So my favorite thing is to say, you don't know what you don't know. So not understanding what goes behind the scenes, we don't expect you to know what to do. We never look at you and think, well, that was rude that you didn't do that for us, you know, but it is nice to have the opportunity to say, hey, if you did this, it would certainly make my job a lot easier. The first thing, getting the contract to us or opening title officially, if you are doing a listing, especially in this market, they go fast. So if you can give us a heads up that it's going to go on the market and give us a moment to research the title, the second you go on, we can have the PR for you. If you're going to put it on the market and it's going to have a whole bunch of deals that are negotiated and your deadline's tonight at 5,
Yikes.
yes, I'm paying a whole lot of money to my researcher to skip whatever he's doing to hurry up and get all those docs together so I can get a PR to you so you don't miss your deadline.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it helps out a lot. Obviously, with buyers, you're not going to know until you know.
True.
But there isn't a deadline on getting that title information. It's only on the seller.
Interesting.
So yeah, when you have a listing or when you have that agreement signed for a date in the future, just give us a call and say, heads up, this is going to be coming. We're going to be opening it up, and that'll give us a little bit of time to get our work done orderly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question then really quick. A listing, can you pull title on that before we even get it listed, or is that something that you can't do until we actually launch it?
So if you have the contract, we are allowed to start doing the research, but we don't open title officially until you go on the market.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So the second we launch the listing would be the best time to just say, hey, Mesia, got this new listing.
Yes.
Check me out.
And especially if they have an HOA, because HOAs are never cooperative. They try we try to go through WISE docs. We try to do what we can to get the information, but you know, we are only in control of so much. And payoffs, when you own a home and you already have a mortgage on it, we have to request that information. Every lender and bank is different. Sometimes we've got it immediately. Sometimes it's 2 weeks.
Oh, whoa.
So the sooner that you can get all that information to us, the faster that we can make sure we get everything done and tied up. Because if we don't have that done and you tell me, hey, we're closing early, I'm scrambling.
Not going to happen.
Yes, yes.
So what I got out of all of that for every one of the agents that will watch this from my staff is that communication is key, and quick communication.
Exactly.
Just get it to you quick so that we can just start.
And that will lead me to maybe my next point, and that's thorough communication.
Fair.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes.
So wait, all this is wrapped around communication? What? No way.
But you know, TJ, you're really easy to work with. If I text you, you're texting back. If I call you, you pick up the phone. A lot of agents aren't the same way, and it's, you know, that's how they run their business. That's okay. but it makes it more difficult on me if I don't have contact information for the seller to get the authorization signed, to get the payoff information. Or if I don't, there's a lot of information that would be helpful, a social security number. When we're doing research to make sure there's no judgments, if your name is Ann Smith, I got judgments like crazy, right? So if I have to go through each one and see and try and match, it's just a lot easier if I have a social security number.
Gotcha.
When you're with the buyer, the lender sends us all that information when they open title. So
Gotcha.
we work with the lender, but with the seller, it's a little more difficult. So I just ask, and in fact, I'll send you a template that I like to send out and say, hey, when you open title, if you give me this information, it helps. But I do want to stress that I know your job. I've been there. Like, you having to do the research yourself to be like, I don't want to call the client and ask their social security number, or, I don't want to figure out all this other information that you need. Then don't. Okay. I'm willing to do it. I'm always, I conform to whatever the agent needs and however they want to run their business. But if you are looking for ways to help us, sending that information first and foremost, who the other agent is, what title they're working with, if just that kind of stuff helps and it makes things go faster and smoother.
Nice. That is awesome. I love talking to you about title and just hanging out in general.
Thanks.
I really feel like we got some information that will be effective for the agents that are on my staff, so I really want to say thank you. And then if you had like a 15-second, this is what I want agents to know about me and the things that you bring to the transaction, maybe that we haven't already covered, and maybe why we should all pick you.
Oh, okay. Well, you can pick me because I'm cool.
Yes.
Because I take you for pedicures and lunches, and I know how to party and have fun.
Yes,
but
true.
Really, what I bring to the table that I think no other officers do or title reps do is that I really do conform and make my business what you want it to be. So as you know, I will contact you and say, what do you want at closing? How do you want me dressed? How, is this a really professional client that we need to impress, or is this someone I'm going to intimidate if I show up in heels?
True.
I want to make sure that the experience is the very best for the client, because that's how you're going to get referrals.
Agreed.
So we work together really well, and I try to make the agent happy, but ultimately it's the buyer and seller that I have to make happy. And so I be whatever that person needs to be and do my job very, very well. So all they know is that everything went smooth, everything went great, and the behind the scenes circus between the agents
right.
and I, they don't need to know about. And I will always show up, ready to be in holy jeans if your client wants to be chill, or professional if you want to impress. I just tailor-made it to each agent that comes to me so that I know I'm doing it the way they want it done.
True. I can definitely attest to that. I have had several texts that were like, hey, is this going to be casual? Or should we go dress into the nines? You guys all know my clients are all super cash. So we're all just dressed down. It's cool. And then we hang out. And then what was funny, we went to gyms for breakfast.
Oh my gosh. My new addiction.
And it was so much fun after closing. So I do want to just say thank you for sitting down with me, talking about title, and getting some information that I think can help the rest of my staff and really help enlighten us to understand what's going on behind the scenes and how we can just be better as agents.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I think that anytime we have a chance to educate each other, it just makes the industry better as a whole. And that's the point. If it can be a good experience for all of us, that's great.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I'm TJ McClellan, broker of Fitness Realty. This has been Title with Mesia Swan at Eaglegate. And we'll see you guys for another training video later. Let's see. I had something to add with that. Let me... it was a question. It'll come back to me. This is where we'll cut. What was that? Oh, okay, here we go.
Super cool.
That was so fun. Oh, I wasn't recording. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,